All right, another hopefully very quick scene here using the marble paper. I have a layout in mind. Let's see how it looks. It's going to be a snowy kind of terrain. I've done this scene before. Similar scene, not on the marble paper, but let's see what it looks like on the paper. I have this here positioned to see if it would fit with this quote stamp. All right, foreground imagery. Stamp and hold for a little bit of time, just to allow, if you're using this particular paper, brand of paper, it does have a little bit of a sealant on it. Not an official sealant, but it's probably just the printer inks. And it does resist the ink slightly, so black is a little bit more of like a, in this case, maybe like a 95% gray or something like that. All right, we'll go for a couple different impressions here of this particular tree. And before I get too far, I need to stamp out that quote stamp. I need to work scenes around quotes, or I need to have them a little bit more incorporated than kind of like, I don't know, last minute decisions. Especially when it's a fairly significant size quote, not just a word stamp. And this is off one of the scenic sentiment sheets. And we have our, I don't know, whatever you see it as. Let's say there's a sun or a moon. It's called hot sun, but you can really use it for either sky figure, orb, all right, let's take a look here. Mask, easy mask, just a torn paper towel. We'll do one impression stamping of that right there. I'll put this one. I'm stamping it off because I'm stamping it behind this other tree. So I want it to be very light because I don't want it to interfere with the silhouette of this one right here. As a matter of fact, you can go a lighter one and then see how I've gone with a darker one in front of that. So you get a little bit more depth that way. Let's go with this one again like so. So we're trying to add some nice density to the scene without having it interfere with other imagery. Should I go for a second, a third impression? Let's I'll go for a third impression. Let's blot that off a little bit like that. Let's see how you've added in kind of some nice atmosphere. It's almost the same color as the patterning on this marble paper, so it really matches really nicely. And then as you're moving it up the hill, what you can do is you can use a smaller bit of this tree. I do have another smaller, even smaller one like that, but you can make it look quite a bit smaller just by using a smaller portion of it. Let's go for this sharper one right here. Looks like that. And it also comes in the same set. Let's just use a kind of a smaller portion of it though. Blot it off like so. And we have a whole, kind of a range of values of those trees, kind of adding to a nice kind of atmospheric and dense winter forest. Just little rocky, snowy rock textures, just to add a little bit of variation in here. See, again, going for that multiple impression type of thing for a little bit of added texture. Same thing, but it's just a little bit of a smaller, version. All right, let's grab this little sledder off of this other set, one of the new sets. I'm going to have some of these foreground footprints a little bit lighter, faded, because it's not going to reach all the way down to the bottom of this scene. Maybe just something like that. All right. Pretty quick work and a pretty full image, real full composition. That. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little bit of coloring on here with some colored pencils, just to bring a little bit of tinge of, another color into the scene, into the scenario. And let's see. And another one here. Here's a couple blue tones right here, but here's a little bit of a, like a grayish, like slate. Now see, I kind of stamped a little bit of a slope right here with that paper towel. So I'm going to just reiterate that I'm going to go down like this, and we'll create this little bit of a slope like that, kind of in that same angle or direction. I didn't plan for that. Now see, this one right here is going like this, so I'll just have it going off this way. And we'll just kind of anchor these objects down into the scene a little bit with a little bit of extra tone. Again, here's that slope going this way, so I'm kind of building up that snow going up this way a little bit. Okay, now I'm just kind of anchoring things down. We have this sun or moon up here, so I'll use that as my reference for lighting reference, okay? A little bit. So here's this sun right here, so I'm going to trail some of this shadow off this way a little bit. The lighter the object, or the more distant it is, you know, it casts like a weaker shadow as well. So don't make the shadows like darker than the objects that are casting the shadows, okay? So if you're kind of curious, like, hey, I don't know how dark it should be, then just what you do is you just draw it in really lightly, and when you darken it in, you just go like 1 or 2% darker, and then you just kind of keep looking at it, and you see if it's, you know, kind of pleasant to your eye, then it should be just fine. But so you don't have to go like with a gigantic addition of tone or color to your scene. Just do a little bit at a time, and just read the paper. You know, read, you know, visually read what you're looking at. And you're saying, hey, I don't know, you know, I don't know if I should go darker or not. You know, like I said, you can just go a little bit more each time. And I recommend going a little bit more than probably what is ideal, because I always say it by kind of holding back too often, you know. You're never really kind of seeing the full, taking things to the full extent, maybe. But see those little shadows in here, and I mean, it's a little bit of tone, so it's giving the scene a little bit of extra, whatever, variation. I guess this is a little bit of a different temperature, too. It's kind of a cool, grayish tinge. Let's bring out this, I don't know, whatever it is, sun or moon, a little bit more. Bringing it out, I mean, making the area around it a little bit darker. Like that. So you make this a little bit darker, that stands out lighter by contrast. To me, this scene, I don't know, it's a little bit more this kind of romantic view of, I don't know, kind of exploration. I mean, it's a little kid, but when we were little kids, man, we were going out, I wouldn't say all hours, but we were frequently getting home after dark. I don't know. A lot of us kids on the block had kind of older siblings, so, you know, I think our parents, by the time, you know, us kids got around to doing the same things they were doing, I don't know, they were probably a little bit less worried. But like this one right here, when this kid has time to go out and sled, he's going to make the most of it in terms of having enough light. Or maybe he already ate dinner and did his homework and stuff like that, or whatever he needed, his chores for the day, and he went out and ate and went out for like a late night, or maybe early morning, or early night session. A couple times down the hill, or one time down the hill. Kind of one of those, come on, Mom, just one time. With his new sled. All right, a little bit of a brighter blue here. A lot of times I work from light to dark, I don't know. I guess this one I was working with a color that was closer to the texturing on this surface. And this one's, you know, the one that's the most different, so maybe that's why I'm doing it last. Something like that. And let's go into this snowy scenario and add a little white pigment ink. We don't really need to do very much, but see, some in here where these branches, snowy branches, are encountering this background of marble texturing in here, some of those branches get a little bit darker. So you can go in and lighten it up a little bit like this by reintroducing white into that, or introducing white into it. You can add it in. I'm doing these little dots like that. It kind of adds a nice, you know, kind of a little bit of a different texture into the scene as well. Maybe it makes the tree a little bit more dimensional looking. It's a little bit lighter. It's not going to be that light though. When it dries, it'll be a little bit more see-through, and these white dots will look a little bit darker. Just naturally, I don't know, it dries that way. Okay, so a little bit of highlighting on some of these trees. Gonna make some, you know, kind of sparkle in the lighting a little bit more. Shimmer, maybe. This white can be a little bit lighter than the white on the page, but let's see here. Let's put a little bit that up here too. A little bit of added texture for our light source and a little bit of lighting. Like that. White pigment ink. Putting it on the inside branches right here, or the branches that are kind of facing that light. I'm just making them a little bit softer and a little bit more illuminated. And on the inside of this one, when I say the inside, I don't know, I have this little corridor that this little figure is going up. And I'll just do the inside areas. Like this one right here, the lighting isn't coming from over here, but it kind of illuminates our pathway a little bit more. Like that. It makes kind of this area a little bit more inviting to the viewer. It's like, oh, we have this little pathway of light to go up there, you know. It's very inviting. It's a very soft light. And we're inviting you, me as the viewer, whoever's looking at this scene, kind of makes it a little bit more inviting in it. We feel more kind of compelled to enter the scene in that type of soft lit, very friendly light scenario. There we go. Another finished piece like that, and we can take a look and see what it would look like when matted and framed off, in this case with a silver border like that, which I really like with this paper. And it looks about like that. So how much time did that take? It took about 20 minutes or so, 21 minutes. Not too bad for a half-page scene. And as far as visual interest, a lot of it's made possible by working on a textured paper like this that's neutral enough to stamp, whatever we want on it without the intrusion of pattern in the form so much. But you can always go back and, like I said, and redefine some areas that maybe get a little bit too dark with things like, the white pigment ink or the acrylic paint pens. All right, I hope you liked the scene. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please do so in the comments section.